Good morning. My name is Sean Galloway. I'll be presenting my capstone project for Trident University. This is ITM 590. Welcome to the students and Dr. Eleanor Kinsella. I'll be presenting my project on IT governance on my organization of USARC. So in the overview, we'll be going over United States Army Reserve Command's mission, structure, and strategic role. The personal role within the organization of myself, the organizational environmental challenges, the general systems theory perspective of the Reserve Command, the future perspective with GST applied, the IT infrastructure and technology deployment, technological barriers, organizational success, educating the masses, and conclusion. So, with USARC, or United States Army Reserve Command, the Army Reserve's mission under the U.S. Title Code 10 is to provide trained, equipped, and ready soldiers and cohesive units to meet the global requirements across the full spectrum of operations. The structure of the USARC is comprised of both uniformed soldiers and Department of Defense civilians split into groups of soldiers within the headquarters called directors. Within the directorates are subdirectorates. The strategic role. USARC's strategic role is to manage the groups that establish and manage personnel logistics, operations, training, resources for all of the United States Army Reserve. So moving on, my personal role within this organization is I'm a physical security specialist. I'm an intern. My responsibilities are to survey our surveys and risk analysis to evaluate and improve security posture of mission essential vulnerable areas or MIVAs, prepare written reports, brief senior military and civilian managers, advise on security postures, develop security recommendations on new construction involving electronic security system placement and intrusion system placement. I'm a subject matter retriever or bookworm, you could say, customer relations or customer service, operation, OPSEC helper operation security. I help people maintain OPSEC in the area, and I'm a records keeper. So when it comes to the Army, USARC being one of them, or any military organization, we come into challenges of the organization, environmental challenges, communication being one of them, the flow of information, whether it be up and down or down and up. Communication can be face to face, telephone, email. Doesn't matter where the communication flows, it gets lost in the chain somewhere. So we need to make sure that from the lowest level up and back down, that everybody is informed of policy changes, memos being sent out. And sometimes here at USART, the chain gets broken somewhere and somebody doesn't find out the information. Especially here in recent inspections, we had that come on. So, political changes. Given the recent political environment, being in the military, working for the government, we have to take scope of that around us and be cognizant of that, especially with IT governance that draws away from our funding and what we could do. It creates a challenge and a barrier for us. Conflict of interest. You may have a security proposal that is a that could present a breach right then and there, but you know the hottest new technology comes out for a plane and the Air Force gets the budget over the Army, or a part for a tank that could improve its targeting accuracy comes out. Well, within the land of IT governance, you get put to the back burner, and the regular Army, being component one out of the three components, gets it. USARC is component 2, and we're support, so we're not active duty, we're not on the front line, so we won't get it. Security, physical and cyber. I hit on this earlier in the presentation. We need to be cognizant of, especially here within USARC, you have secured areas. Within your secured areas, you need to make sure that you are following proper regulation, policy, and procedures set into place by not only the governmental and regulations set up by the Department of Defense, but within your work area and within the cyber, you need to practice safe procedures and make sure that you're logging out, you're shutting down your computer, and that everybody is up to date on their classes. You need to be cognizant of the feelings of the employees around you. They could become an insider threat. This plays into IT governance because, an insider threat plays into the security. It's a challenge. Somebody could be going through something. So, going into just talking to somebody, knowing the feelings of your coworkers, what they're going through, helping them out, even getting them the help they need, can play into IT governance because becoming an insider threat damages the security and the operational focus of your environment. Disaster recovery. It's important to have a disaster recovery plan. Even here in USARC, we practice it because the recovery of data and the management of data, which is the next one, mismanagement of data, these both play into each other. If you don't have a policy set up for these within your IT governance plan, then your whole plan fails because you just lost the one thing that you're wanting to protect. You're wanting to hit on data and how it plays into the whole posture of an IT governance plan. That's the main thing. Data analytics, data processing, that's pretty much all information technology is those two things, analyzing data trends. So disaster recovery is very important. You need to have a plan, you need to practice it. So just general systems theory basically focuses on the structure rather than the function. So here at USARC, we are divided into directorates and subdirectorates. And within those subdirectorates, we work as a team. And on the team, some teams are 2 to 4 people within those subdirectorates. Some of those subdirectorates are 10 to 20 people. And within them, we're given tasks, and those tasks build into a bigger picture. And within the IT governance plan, the reason why I put synergy in here is how a team's performance is based on a sole person's performance is because in the Army, you have, let's just start, platoon and team. Within that team is, or section, is judged based on the performances, the weakest link. Well, the subdirector, it's judged like that too. That task builds into a bigger task, and that task builds into a bigger task. Well, we're given contracts, and those contracts have taskings that we need to do. If one person doesn't get one done, that tasking fails. So that plays into IT governance because each person is given a task on a team. And if you have a presentation, well, it falls wayside if one person doesn't do it. So within the IT governance, there needs to be a policy of teamwork, and each person needs to be given a daily task to complete. And those tasks need to be compiled into a daily task. So that's my recommendation. Teamwork is key, and there needs to be a policy on synergy. A double check, a thorough checklist. So a double check or thorough checklist, and this is what I mean by this policy. This is a push to make a checklist to check everything through USARC because USARK's unique. It's one of the few places I know of within the Army that houses its own intranet and storage for that's not given out by contract to a third-party vendor. We manage it all here in an undisclosed location, but we manage it here, and it's not always maintained. It goes down, so we need to come up with a checklist that holds people accountable. And under the governance plan, the policy needs to say A through Z, you will do this on a daily. Oh, and by the way, subsections A, B, and C, you will do this weekly and then monthly. It's kind of like PMCS, your preventative maintenance checks. If you were in the Army, you understand what I'm talking about. You PMCS a vehicle, you have to keep that vehicle running. It's like doing your maintenance on your regular car. You got to keep it running. Connections. So what I mean by connections is starting from the top and going down from the bottom. The chief or the commanding general of USARK and everybody in between, all the way down to the lowest person on the totem pole, there needs to be meetings where the stakeholders have a voice and a policy needs to be set in voice. Policy needs to be set in place where everybody has meetings and everybody needs to be heard and a connection needs to be met. We have town halls, but not everybody speaks up. It needs to be mandatory. Everybody speaks up. And changes can be made. Even the smallest change can bring about a big impact. Now, improvement in the chain. Now, you're taking those changes that you make through your connections and through the stakeholders and through those meetings, and you're basing them on a governance plan and not solely on the performance from the synergy or somebody's performance. And the governance plan is changing because of the policies you set in place. You're taking the governance plan and you're rewriting it, you're reforming it, and over time it's becoming a living document. Future perspective with general systems theory applied. Applying theory to plan. Coming up with new ideas to blend the old with the new. Traditional IT services. Now, what we mean by traditional IT services is infrastructure as service. That's your old servers being on station, not having cloud. It's all been around, it's integrated, it's been there, it works great. It's your old systems. It's been there forever. USARK has this. And it's great, but it's old and we need to upgrade. We need to look at the organism and adapt it and evolve it. Intrusion detection. We need to have a life cycle plan to replace our systems and look at updating them. Alerting and prevention techniques. What I mean by this is we need to make people alert. Throughout the Army, we were worried about the insider threat for a long time because of terroristic actions from 9/11 till forward. Now that environment's changing, maybe we need to focus on other things and we need to come up with better policies, and maybe we need to go back to how things used to run, looking at spies and other things. Future governance plans. What I mean by this is a blend of policy and regulation of allowing for a blend of legacy, traditional IT services, and cloud, which USARK wants to move to, and old IT services, i.e. your old servers and stuff, and cloud, and blending them and getting a third-party vendor in here to maintain them to lower cost, lower maintenance costs and stuff like that. Stakeholder meetings. I want to get stakeholders together and determine a list of access rights and privileges for everybody. Platform as a service. Moving to a platform as a service and moving all applications to a platform gives greater access, freedom of movement. It's a little bit more risky, but the pros outweigh the cons and everybody will be a little bit more happy. USART is unique amongst the organization and components within the United States Army, as is only one or two of the components of the three that operates its own internet and data storage facility of the command headquarters of the three on campus. It's also responsible for pushing out updates throughout the command to the computers and subordinate commands. It also makes IT governance policies. Well, that soon changes as plans are changing to combine connections with the Army. Also changing soon will be that third-party contractors will be responsible for the maintenance of the servers and data storage, as USARC will be moving to cloud. Technology is tested and sent out to the field and fielded in deployment theaters so that it is tested for combat scenarios. As USARC is responsible for supporting active combatant units. So as we have mainly support jobs, we have to make sure our equipment's up to snuff. The infrastructure we have is mostly out of date, so we are over the next few years updating that. With updating those capabilities comes the ability to upgrade to platform systems such as cloud, and with the ability to update to cloud and a platform, it gives us more capabilities and more room to wiggle. Technological barriers. So today we know that since I've been in and been out, the national debt has raised to a cap of 22 million. And it's been hard to get a budget to get stuff to go. We also face here in USARC bureaucratic red tape because once contract proposals go up, they have to go through several boards before they go up, and they have to come down. So we face bureaucratic red tape. And that's what I mean by different proposal boards. Money's also been taken away from different sections to come from in different various places in the military to come up with two different commands in the Army, which is Space Force and Futures Command. Different natures of concern for different people. You may have one. For example, you may say you want life cycle replacements for intrusion detection systems. Well, this person over here may say he wants more Abrams tanks that are upgraded versions. Well, the nature of him being a combatant commander, he's going to win out on the bidding. And contracting holds up. Well, if the contracting needs a revision because the contracting office says it needs a revision, well, then your funding just got held up, and there's nothing that can be said about that. Command Cyber Readiness Inspection. This was a teaching moment for us. This looked at our physical security readiness and cyber readiness. This was a teaching moment for USARC because it taught us that if something were to happen, we weren't ready. We failed on several points, so it was a teaching moment. It taught us that we had some points to look at that we needed to be ready. So, with that being said, these were some recommendations in my mind I came up with. People left their cat cards lying around, so I came up with punishments for common access cards. And my first one was you take it and you give it to their manager. The second one was remedial training and you cut them off from network for a day or two. The third offense is a permanent ban for a month and working in a student-sized desk in the office of the USARC Chief of Staff doing just paperwork or an organization to learn a lesson in humility. That was the first one. Second, ensure daily checks are done on all area by security managers and elect a force supervisor for all 5 floors to ensure all safes and classified location doors are locked and filled out for the day, and that's on a DA Form 702. Finally, hold a working group held weekly by the Provost Marshal, which is the G34, that's the section I work in, to discuss matters of security and the building positives and negatives and improvements that can be made. My final recommendation for USARC and on a IT governance plan is creating a series of classes from the recommendations and policies made to the governance plan. From these classes, you teach one as a quarterly class for a refresher to USARC or any other organization. Through muscle memory, we make less mistakes and it reminds us to take a second and think. As a reminder, I'd like you to take a second from what George S. Patton once said. Prepare for the unknown by studying how others in the past have coped with the unforeseeable and the unpredictable. With that being said, it has been a pleasure to present what I have learned through my studies and my study of my organization to you as my class and to you, Dr. Kinsella. Y'all have a pleasurable day, and anybody else that wants to check this out, I hope I have been very informative. Y'all have a nice day.